Okay, we're going to talk to you today about how to calibrate your moisture sensor on either the Command Center, your Premier, or your Premier TS. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a moisture tester that you trust. A good moisture tester, something that will do hot grain. When I say hot grain, I'm talking a range from like 80 degrees to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So with some great deal of accuracy. So we're going to get our dryer up and going, and it's going to be cooking for a while, and we want this to start actually transferring grain. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to wait till it starts to transfer grain over to our bin. And when that moisture side on the Command Center starts flashing at you, that's when it's actually testing the grain. That's when we want to walk out there and we want to grab a bucket and we want to pull that cable and we want to get a good sample of grain. And when I say a good sample of grain, I'm talking, I want a nice sample of grain that we can test. So either when the Command Center is flashing on the moisture side, or your Premier or TS is the sample button is flashing green. That's when we're going to go out there and pull that cable. That way we're catching what it's testing, and we're going to have the best apples to apples comparison for when we go to calibrate our sensor. So the first thing we want to do is we want to calibrate the grain temperature. So we're going to go back to our Command Center and we're going to go to the moisture side, and instead of being on top dead center, we want to go back to 10 o'clock. To where it says last individual grain temperature reading. And we want to put a thermometer in that grain. And I say a thermometer, I'm talking about a thermometer, okay? It's okay if you have one of these, but I don't want you to use it. This only does surface temperature. I actually want the thermometer to go in the grain to where you can test that temperature. If you don't have a cooking thermometer, you do have a thermometer on the Shivvers bin. Go down around to where the plenum probe is, unscrew that thermometer, use that, okay? Once we get that grain temperature, that thermometer settles down, then we can actually go to our Command Center, and on that last individual grain temperature reading, the thermometer is going to say something, the Command Center is going to say something. We want those to match. So we're going to adjust up or down to the matches what our thermometer says. On our Premier or TS, we're going to go to our Adjust Settings page, and down there in the bottom center part of the screen, we're going to have our grain temp, our plenum temp, and our moisture calibration settings right there. We're going to adjust our grain temperature setting right there. Okay? So once we get that done, we're going to get a fresh sample of grain. Hopefully it's been transferring grain. Another 5 minutes has passed and the moisture sensor is flashing. We're going to go out, we're going to pull that cable, we're going to get a good sample of grain. We're going to run it through your tester that you trust. So we're going to go and we're going to test that. We're going to go to our 11 o'clock on our Command Center where it says last individual grain moisture reading. This is where we're going to make our calibration change if we need to. So let's say that the Command Center said it was 15% or 17%, but our moisture tester said it was 15%. We're going to adjust the big blue box down to match our tester. We're always going to take the control panel the same direction as our moisture tester. So if our Command Center said 17%, our tester said it was 15%, we're going to come down. There's a 2-point swing, we're going to move it 2 points. Just do it. On our Premier or TS, we're going to adjust that on our Adjust Settings page, 2 points. Down, -2. Here's the hard part. We got to wait. We've got to give this thing at least an hour to an hour and a half to catch up to the changes that we just did. So we're going to go back, we're going to get another fresh sample when it's testing the grain. The Command Center's flashing on the moisture side. The Premier or the TS is, the green light is flashing on the sample. We're going to go out, we're going to pull the cable, we're going to get a good sample, okay? So we're going to go back, we're going to put that through our tester, and we're going to check it. We're still a point off. Command Center said it was 16%, but our tester said it was 17%. We're 1 point off. We're only going to adjust this up, go in the same direction. We're going to take the Command Center or the Premier the same direction as our tester. We're 16 here, 17 on our tester. We're going to go up half the distance only half the distance. If we go the whole way, we're going to overshoot what we're doing. We're going to be chasing this thing all day long. So only go half the distance. Now we got to wait another hour, hour and a half. We're going to check and get a new fresh sample. When it's flashing or that green light's flashing, saying we're sampling grain, put that through our tester. Okay, now we're only half a point off. We don't have a point or a 2.5, so we're going to move this thing either 0.2 of a point or 0.3 of a point. And we should slowly narrow this thing in to get it very, very close. And I feel if you go through this process, you're going to be very, very accurate with how you have this thing calibrated. Now, I'm going to encourage you to take many, many samples, especially if this is your first time using the system, just so you get comfortable with what that control panel is telling you is going on. So you understand what's going on. So, but once you get it set, you shouldn't have to mess with it too much. It's the same process for a command center, a Premier, or a Premier TS. As far as the calibration, we do the grain temperature first, and then we adjust our moisture. And that should be about all you have to do. Thank you much.